Hi everyone, I'm Saurav.
Hi, my name is Mahima.
There's a lot of myths people have of working in an MNC. So I and Mahima thought of validating or at least busting these myths so that you can make the right choice for your career. So I have a lot of questions. My first question to you, Mahima, is did any of your senior dated you?
No, fortunately not, because I think because of everything being online, when I was interning, तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा plain and simple and dull था everything. So nothing of that sort. But I think I've made a lot of friends regardless of it being online. So I'm still friends with a lot of people that I've worked with. So I think that's the good part of it all. I was still able to have some human interaction with people during my internship.
That's amazing. So I have a next, which is very serious question, right? MNC is all about 9 to 5 job. Do you think it is true?
Well, I think that depends from company to company. In my case, when I was interning with one of the big fours, so it used to be that we used to be working at our own convenience. So मैं रात को 12 बजे भी काम करती थी and सुबह deliverable दे देती थी या फिर some cases में I had to log in at 9 and I had to be home by 6. But in some cases, I think when I was doing some internships which were very purpose driven, I knew what I was doing, I was liking it. उसमें there was no time bound. Like 12 बजे कभी-कभी office जाती थी, I used to come back at 7. This was my experience with government internships in general. So I feel like 9 to 5 is a myth. Obviously, there's not like कि 9 बजे बैठेंगे and 5 बजे laptop बंद हो जाता है. Everyone needs to be flexible, I think, when they're working, and I think if you're attached to the purpose of the company, तो फिर ये time भी चला जाता है. But yeah, definitely 9 to 5 job is a myth, which I think is only true when you're working in a college or an institution, which happens with my mom. But उसके अलावा और कहीं नहीं देखा है.
I think in my particular case, so I used to work with an MNC called Siemens. What used to happen that, of course, it was first of all, it is never 9 to 5 in Indian companies. It is never 8 hours. It is always 9 hours. So I was at 8 to 5, and I think in like almost like if there are 5 days working, so almost like 3 days I was able to go at 5 p.m. sharp. But in a couple of days, I used to stay at 3 a.m. as well, right? Because we used to send bids, and it's not just the case with me, but probably with all the colleagues that I was working with. So, I mean, please do not think that, MNCs are all about 9 to 5 job. It's not. If you have to work, the organization will make you work till 11 or, 3 a.m. as well. So this is definitely a myth. It's busted. The second question I have is like, you get paid a lot.
Right. So I feel like MNCs, specifically interns, do not get paid a lot in India. But some of my friends are working in MBBs, they do get paid a lot. So again, it's very subjective, depends on which company you're working for. But in general, it's not like if you think you'll enter a role as an undergraduate and you'll get paid in lakhs, that is not true. Maybe in thousands, early thousands, late thousands, but it's not like it's easy money, because I feel like when you're new to the organization, you're a very small part of a very big picture. वो धीरे धीरे आपका part बढ़ता रहता है, and then salary भी बढ़ती रहती है. But initially, it's not like you'll get a lot of money. But again, depends on the opportunity you're a part of.
So I completely agree to that. So in fact, like I will say, divide the companies. I've seen only the consulting companies really pay a lot in the beginning. However, most of the MNCs, like even if you join Siemens or Reliance, etc., Tata, etc., if I've just graduated, even if you're starting the first company, they do not pay you a lot, right? But they will invest you a lot, right? I mean, they will do a lot of trainings. I used to have a training program of almost a year when I used to go different places and learn. So I think they have actually invested a lot of money in me, but they did not pay in the cash. Now, the next question comes is like, do these companies pay or not, right? In later part of the life or not? The answer to that is I think I'm aware about my boss salary. So I'm sure he was not getting that enough. But I was aware that his boss, which is actually the senior most person who was also an MBA plus a chartered accountant, he was getting paid a lot, right? I mean, he used to have stocks of the companies. He used to have a percentage in the profits also. So, I mean, people who are at a chairman or maybe not at a chairman, but at a BU head level, I think they get paid a lot. But to reach at that level, you have to spend a good amount of time there plus education qualifications. Yeah. So the third, which is I think a lot of people have, because in startups, people do not get to travel a lot, very frankly speaking, since I'm working for almost like 3 years. But in MNCs, people go to travel. Is the people have this question? Do you think that is true?
Well, that can depend. If you're working on a project which requires a lot of client-facing interactions. So for example, if you're working for say XYZ company and the client that is there with you is also in the same city, so you will go and meet them directly or have conversations and meetings with them. But if for example it's an international client, so those interactions are less, so travel is less. And I also feel like because of the entire COVID world, these interactions have reduced a lot, because people never knew ki Google Meet say you can solve issues, and people used to fly for those things. So I think travel in general has reduced in the industry, but I think it's going back to normal. But again, as you say, it depends on where you are in the pipeline. So if you're like just an intern or you're just a part at an undergrad level, you don't need to be a part of those meetings. Essentially, that information will get transferred to you. So travel again depends, but I think it's very less in startups and finance roles, and comparatively higher in client-facing roles, be it any startup or in general consulting roles also.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, one thing that you mentioned is the roles, right?
Yeah.
So again, I mean, even if you're working in an MNC and if you have a finance role, you will get to travel only for the training part, right? Like you have a training at an XYZ city or maybe a country, you will get to do that. However, if working in sales, let's say, and if you are working in an MNC, the chances of you going to travel is so high, like literally high. I used to have a manager who used to travel to almost every other country every second week, right? So, I mean, yes, I mean, as comparison to startups, MNCs will give you more travel opportunities, especially if you are in sales or business development or a marketing kind of a field. In finance, you will get to travel only and mainly when you have a training on board. Yeah, got it. So I have this is I would say true, but let me just ask you one more time. MNCs are all about processes and approvals.
Agreed. I completely agree to that, because I think that's also because these companies are established since so long. It's a multinational, so everything, all the protocols are there, and like if one person also breaks them, तो पूरा chain खराब हो जाता है, which I understand. But I think these things can be micromanaged and थोड़ा सा leeway हो सकता है. But I think processes and approvals and MNCs are a big issue, which is comparatively lesser in small firms or startups. So I think that can be a big of an issue at times. Most of the times, not at times. But yeah, I think people have made peace with that also. So, but yeah, it's not a myth. It's true.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I used to like literally have to wait for my manager's approval and his manager's approval, and that's like sometimes that's my only work on weekdays, right? I mean, getting approvals done, and that is so frustrating. What I generally see that the Gen Z and the millennials, especially, right? I mean, they are not used to used to slow processes. What they're looking for is fast-pacing things. That's why I mean the iteration that I've generally seen in the MNCs have also started increasing a bit. Because the Gen Zs are like literally fed up with these approvals processes. Of course, many times it is really important, but I think a lot of companies have started working on it also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they think that we should give more ownership to the people, but that's at least this is now currently on the papers only. So yeah, if you're working in MNC, you have to get approvals and processes. You have to follow it. There is no way out. I have another, which I think we were talking before this this catch up also. That the offices of MNCs are so beautiful. I mean, they are so big and beautiful. What is your take on it?
I feel like I can't relate to this, because most of my internships were online, not offline. So I wish they were offline, but most of them were online, so I didn't get to see the office. But I feel like the offices of MNCs, even only the headquarters are like extremely beautiful and big, but most of the offices are plain and simple. Like you will see one lane with like 10 cubicles, and it's a bit sad. But I feel like the office in general is vibrant because there's so many people in general. So, but I couldn't see any office, so I don't know how beautiful it is. But I feel like the culture of offices in MNC is a bit more difficult to manage, because again, so many stakeholders, protocols and all of that. And again, it's a bit chill. You can actually go forward and take the benefits that they talk about in a firm which is much more smaller.
Yeah, I think so. I've worked in like different offices, and I've realized that, I mean, of course, the headquarters, that you rightly said that not all offices that you see of an MNC are really big, right? Some of them are really plain with like almost like let's say 100-seater rooms. However, like their headquarters are amazing, right? I can definitely see that, because most of the management sits there, and it's the best experience, and you see that you're literally entering into a 5-star hotel, many times. And I think that is something, and you need to take it, and you can take a lot of advantage of that as well, right? I mean, you can play a table tennis. There's a lawn. Many times there's a lawn. There's a cricket ground also. I used to have a cricket ground where you can literally play in the morning and at the evening. So I think there's a lot of benefits of having a long, beautiful office. And that's true, right? I mean, MNCs have big offices. Only the headquarters, I would say, they have the best of the best.
Yeah.
Not everything, right? So I think that is very important to point that out. I have a last two questions, and that is something may hurt you. You don't need to work on weekends.
Well, that's not true. Again, it also depends on the company that you're working for, the project you're working on. But usually, companies make you work on weekends if they want to. It's not like if there's an urgent requirement, you can say no to it. In my interviews for Big Four, I was told very categorically that there can be a possibility that you work on weekends. So when I was giving the interview, I was like, yeah, sure, because I was very enthusiastic. But in true terms, I feel like a weekend is very necessary because you're working throughout 5 days and it's very difficult to just breathe also on days, because by the end of the day, you just want to sleep. I feel like that break is very important. A lot of people have started to accept it and give it, but still in some places the work-life balance is very bad. Again, it depends on where you are on the pipeline. So some people as they reach top positions, it's more. But yeah, it's a myth that you don't work on weekends. It's not like you can say no that I don't want to work because it's difficult.
I think it absolutely, many times it depends upon the projects you're working. Let's say that you have a tender going on Sunday. You can't say that today is a Sunday, so I can't work on it. I mean, that doesn't work. That doesn't. Because you have to take in some kind of ownership also, right? I mean, it's your project. You've been working for quite some time now. At the same time, I generally see that, I mean, it has been my experience of working in an MNC as well as startup, that in an MNC, I mean, you still have off, right? And it's official that Saturday and Sunday are off in general. In startups, I mean, sometimes the hustle culture is so much that a lot of time the people tend to forget that there are the weekends, there are offs, right? There is a Diwali Chutti, there is a Ganpati Puja also, right? But MNCs have it because they're very structured. You will get to know the calendar, like when are you going to have an off, you have a weekends, etc. But again, please don't think that MNCs, you do not have to work on weekends. It's not true at all. I have a last question, and that's something a lot of people are going to. I just wanted to understand, since there's always a debate of MNC versus startup. So the question is, in MNCs, promotion happens once a year. Do you think that is true? Maybe with your internship, or do you think that was true?
I feel like in MNCs, as we talked about, there's so many processes and everything.
Yes.
So at times things either get too fast in that process or get too slow. So promotions are definitely there. They're much more structured, as you said. It has to be there. It's been a part of it. But I feel like in startups, it's very dynamic. So it's not like कि मुझे 1 साल हो गया तो promotion दे दो. It's like if you achieve something big in 3 months also, so you get promoted from an intern to the CEO's office. So that is very dynamic in startups. But for MNCs, it's much more slower. It's also like कि अगर मैं undergrad हूँ तो मुझे MBA position पे नहीं रख सकते हैं. So my procedure has to be very slow. So all of that is very counted for. But for startups, I think it's very dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, in MNCs, I mean, as Maima mentioned, that it's very structured, right? So it's not like, you will get promoted every 3 or 4 months, even if you have done the best of the best things. Of course, some MNCs are really good, but most of them have a structure, right? I mean, you probably will get promoted 10, 15, and even if you perform the best of the best, it probably will not go above 20% if their whole criteria is 20%. However, that doesn't happen in startups. Startups may, I think people just keep on hopping. And there's a lot of competition also, right, in startups, right? If you know one growth hack, and if you're a marketer, you're a great marketer, then I think people of other startup also want you, right? So I mean, that is very important. I think that's one of the reasons that startups actually, if you're working really hard, then startups will pay you on time. No, I mean, say they will promote you on time also. Sometimes you get promoted in 3 months or 6 months also, if you have literally proved a worth, right? If you have done a crack, if you've done a sale that just helps your founder to get the next big round or the investment round, you will get that promotion, that's for sure. And the other thing that I think I remember about, I think when a few of my friends work in startups, that whenever there is a investment that comes in, right, a lot of employees will get promoted, right? Yeah. So typically every year, a startup just get a promotion once or twice, depending upon the stage of the company they are in. So it means that you will have that opportunity there. That's like an additional. So if you work really hard, I mean, you will have another opportunities also.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in MNCs, yes, promotions happens once in a year, but in startups, it may happen multiple times also.
True.
Yeah, with this, I think we have like busted and validated a lot of myths that people have around MNCs and working in startups also. So yeah, by now, I think you will have a lot of ideas that, what are the myths of working in MNC and what are not the myths. I think that should definitely help you. If you have any questions regarding working in an MNC or even working in a startup, do mention the same in the comment section so that we can help you up. And don't forget to like, subscribe the video. It is definitely going to help you up in accelerating your career, I would say. Right, Mahima?
Right, for sure.
All right.